Christina Universe Citizen presents New Era Illegit Episode 73, Part 1, June 29, 2022. Recognizing Critical Proximity Domains of Action. Metaphysical intellect, a function of omnirational universe, admits into the environment of its systemic thought's generalized conceptioning field a conscious awareness of eventually realizing a true democracy. Its anticipatory design science identifies the concept a true democracy as the first subdivision of universe. The subdivision is as a system. Synergetics 400.05. At minimum, therefore, a true democracy is a system. Thenceforth, individual economic initiatives differentiate relevance from non-relevance. This intellectual discernment is individually initiated. The conceptuality of the first subdivision identified thus is an anticipatory interrelatedness of differentiated and integrated events. It is where metaphysical mind's awareness of the minimum structural system of universe is recognized to be of the generalized system while learning more about the tetrahedron and vector equilibrium correlatively to integral interest in the conceptioning field. With respect to realizing a true democracy as an omnirational, predominantly metaphysical objective, it well may be by imagining the evolving system on a different planet. This is because humans of planet Earth, enmeshed in the quasi-democracies of the world, are overburdened with irrational histories of human behavior. Humans continue adapting to the PRJWBCSchemes that add preponderant weight to the already overwhelmed, always partially overlapping generations. It is where the people seem to be politically influenced and justified to establish and maintain power. It is a competitive power that imposes and perpetuates the lawmaking authority as a controlling mechanism over human behavior and the economies that make rich and make poor. Yet across the board, everywhere in the world, the governing systems never start with universe to begin the local problem-solving process, nor correlate thought and language, thought and action to universe's structural integrity. Consequently, by not having universe's domains in mind, this omission omits universe's geometric models of energy and all else that systemic thought's individual geometry of thinking conceptualizes. Synergetics is the geometry of thinking. Synergetically informed mentality's conscious awareness of its systemic thought refers the conceptuality of the observed and the articulated experiential experimental events, among which are the EISEDP human events. The acronym EISEDP stands for Experiences, Intuition, Speculations, Experiments, Discoveries, Productions. Synergetics 502.22. Anticipatory design science is evolutionary coinciding with awareness of universe's minimum thinkable set and interrelating intersupport ephemeralization. Ephemeralization is relevant to awareness of human events and universe's energy events as essentially integral economic differentiations and integrations in the universal communications process. Ephemeralization is doing more with less energy per accomplished task, such as ergs of energy per some unit of work equal to the accomplishment by a force. The precise physics is not of relevant significance at the rudimentary level of understanding. What eventually is the point of conscious application correlative to the known direction of action of the force, which is an interpretation of the dictionary definition of the term erg in Oxford University Press Dictionary and Thesaurus. First, we must learn of the applicable term that may not be immediately relevant, but when memory stored in the brain, then the intellectually discerning mind can eventually associate the cognition and recognition applicably to the precisely measurable, most economical ways systems behave relative to unity and self in universe. Ephemeralization is not having to do more with less, but can be difficult to accomplish. A governing imbalanced economy where the total resource is miscalculated or not known about at all. Thereby, the uninformed or misinformed information gathering, local problem solving permits the power to control to revert to uneven extremes, resulting in extremes on either end of the economic spectrum. Historically, the PRJWBCS, politics, religion, justice, war, belief, complex schemes, induce radical behavior as both reactions to and practices of the governing systems that inadvertently belie unity between self and the other. It is where there is no conscious awareness of universe, nor a true democracy as the first subdivision of it. Logically, the concept, a true democracy, must be conceptually free of the PRJWBCS contextual parameters. Those prevailing factors are inherited detriments. They conceal the slave mentality of its manifest forms. Ergo, the slave mentality conditioning continues unabated, as yet identified deviance from the womb of permitted ignorance. We have recently become aware that womb and matrix are synonymous terms from Latin for mother, mater. The world's quasi-democracies strive to be governed by the people, to liberate them from every degree of suppression and oppression. It is a natural inclination to want to be free from such human conditions as our species, humans of a mind, have evolved over millions of years to be intellectually advanced with every succeeding generation. Supposedly, the selected form of governing is for the people's best interests, but with any PRJW predominating motivating factor situated at the apex of power, beliefs in this power are not free from inculcation, indoctrination, and adaptation to those false premises as the manifest realities result. Contemporary humanity is enmeshed in the problems of aberrance and deviance from any or all of the prevailing P factor, R factor, J factor, W factor, since those contextual parameters signify the problem-making scenarios. Context democracy anticipates integrations and differentiations, but not the perpetual subconscious, ignorantly fearful cautionaries with which the worn-out observer's awareness of this redundance has to deal. The people continue to subconsciously refer the a priori thought to those politically activated ambitious schemes. This occurs and recurs as our humanity is not yet aware of its individual absence of forethought of universe's eternal patterning integrity. However, Universe's eternal patterning integrity is integrally and structurally essential for cognizing and recognizing the self-regenerative energetic synergetic coordinate system of nature. The energetic synergetic coordinate system of nature correlates to our individual survival motivations to any energized degree, is different for every person, one person or another, as humans tend to follow more than they tend to lead. Leaders are trusted to know more than those whose inclination to trust also agrees to follow the leader. Differently inspired incentives inspire the leader-follower inclination relative to choosing whatever is most trustworthy of the mentality depicted as an intuitive resource. It can also be choosing what seems to be the winning side, without factoring in precisely what may exacerbate the governing system's authority. The governing system's authority was never meant to condemn humans to a worsening economic condition, but to fulfill the people's most intelligent expectation. But while gaining more controlling power in the unbalanced process, this is not the case. The unbalanced process is where the controlling authoritative system in power adds to the historical burdens that the people must bear. It sustains the extent of its ignorance throughout the prevailing election cycles and the particular governing entity's term in office. Each elected term of the legislative body is specifically designated to add more laws to the governing system for controlling as much as can possibly be factored into the quasi-democracy or any form of government. Historically, this continues as an expected practice of the legislative body for the sake of lawmaking, with apparently no consciousness of universe, the first subdivision of it, the conceptualities of the unfolding episodic events of scenario universe that can be detrimentally exacerbated, engendering more fear by human invention. The conventions of human invention reconvene newly authorized events that by default slave mentality also propagate scenario universes variously contrived asymmetric episodes as the aggregate of all human experiences. It omits consciousness of the first subdivision of universe that we have now designated as a true democracy. The first subdivision of universe is the conceptuality of a tetrahedron's topological characteristics and geometry of the basic mensural unit. Energy derives from and is integral to the eternal mind's consciousness evolution as the omnirationally coordinated environment which the human being's metaphysical intellect as a function of universe refers its systemic thought's awareness of the concept a true democracy. Imaginably, theoretically, literally, hypothetically, a true democracy is conceived in a conceptual, pristine, omnirational, omnidirectional environment as a contextual parameter in generalized principle. Awareness of it initiates cognition and recognition of this integrally but most economical way systems behave relative to unity and a self-other sustaining universe. We can easily recall that a system is the first subdivision of universe into a conceivable entity. The conceivable entity separates all that is non-simultaneously and geometrically outside the system from the comparative alternative options. All that is irrelevant is differentiated from relevance. Relevance turns out to be the system's set of interrelatable geometric events. To be continued in Part 2, Episode 74.